I um I don't know. I can't get my look right today. For some reason, I don't know. I don't maybe it's the lights. Maybe my face is still just a tiny bit swollen. But oh, from the tail end of what I was talking about before, uh why my the second book character, won't give this guy the time of day because she thinks, which and she's probably right, and it's probably how it started, that he's just curious. He just wants to see her naked. He's just curious about, who this female is that he's met. He's never met a black person. Oh no, well, no, 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 no. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that, because at one point I had in mind that he actually has been to America, maybe even to the South or New York or something like that. Early, young as a student, I know he's been in Paris before as a young man, because he just had been in Paris as a young man, which a man educated, to hit to the point where he's educated, would have gone on the tour, the grand tour. And the reason my heroine, uh that's the reason she doesn't have sex with him. She's attracted to him. And I don't know if I'm going to flash it back or if I'm going to actually put it in the story that when she the first time she sees him, her and her companion, who I think I'm going to name Gigi because that's a really good French name. Um, they're in the spa in the tea house or something like that, having tea, and her friend goes, "Hey, I think you got an admirer. You know how guys stare at you, give you the creeps." And she looks, and she sees him. She's like, "Yeah, he's fine, But I mean, of course, she doesn't say that because she talks World War II stuff. And she actually, that's the statement she makes. And because her friend goes, "Yeah, well, he's really handsome. He's really nice looking. What do you think? You think he's Swiss?" And she's like, "No, no, 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 he's German. Like that." And they go on with the discussion about him. And she says to him, no, she says to her friend, "Well, he's probably waiting for me to hang from the chandelier, by my tail and peel a banana with my feet." She makes these kind of comments because it was um, pretty much common knowledge, the kind of propaganda that was going on. I mean, and not even in Germany at that time. I mean, in the United States itself. That's why I find it so ironic that so many black soldiers went to fight, um, the Nazis, when the same thing was happening here. And they would go to and lose their lives in another country, and then come back and couldn't sit down beside a white person at the diner and eat. I don't know. I give black people from that era so much respect, because that doesn't even make any sense to me. I mean, that doesn't even, I mean, and the same thing happened when um when Desert Storm and Desert Shield and all that stuff was happening. They were sending females to die in another country, and they couldn't go into the store and buy anything. That they couldn't. I mean, sometimes I wonder about this world. I really, really do. But it got me off the subject. And that's why she doesn't. That's why she's been pushing him off. And one of the when he comes that night, that morning, to tell her that he's actually leaving, she had actually said to herself, "Okay, tonight's gonna be the night. I'll give him a break. He's so handsome, he's so hot. Yeah, okay, I'll give him a break. And she and what happens, 4 o'clock that morning, he because they're going to go to a concert or something that night, and she's thinking, "Yeah, well, okay, tonight's the night. Ladies, how we decide, okay, well, tonight is it. Okay, tonight's it. And of course she never gets to at that point, and she thinks that she's never going to ever see him again, especially after she finds out that the war's broken out, but she still doesn't make that connection to him leaving like that. She does afterwards, after she realizes who he is. And what she yeah, and that's part of, after he leaves that morning and says, oh, and she's like, oh, I'm so stupid, when she goes back, after they've said goodbye, and he's like packed and on his way back to Germany. And she goes back into her bedroom, and she's in her hotel suite where she's staying, and she's crying and making all this noise and saying, what's wrong with me? Why did I tell him no? Why did I um you know push him off, and now I'm never going to get a chance to. And then that's also what leads into the this letter writing back and forth, because before he leaves, he gives her an address, and he says, write to me at this address. And I thought about that too, because I said, okay, now she can't really write him with his no. Then I said, well, how is she not going to know who he is if she writes him? Because when you write a military person, um, I know for a fact that you have a FPO or APO. I'm not going to go into it, but because that stuff's classified as male stuff, and that's classified. But you have to put a soldier's rank and name and where he's at, and his company and that kind of thing on it. So I thought, well, okay, well, how to get around that? And this is just kind of to give you guys the an idea of your thought process. Why writing is so complicated, and why it's something everybody can't do. And if you can do it, it's a very special gift. I thought, well, okay, she'd have to write him. So how would she write him? So what I decided was, he was using another name, sort of like I think he's using his grandmother's maiden name and one of his middle names or something, that he's introduced to her. And she says, well, so she looks at the address. She's crying and weeping and stuff, and he's gone, and she looks at the address, and actually where she's writing him is, I made it either a rectory or a nunnery or somewhere like that. That's not in Berlin. That's not to some barracks somewhere. That's not, it's some um um it's an address that's outside of the city proper. It's some I think I wrote some obscure Berlin suburb or something like that. Um, and that's where she sends the letters, and then that's where she gets the letters back, and it doesn't really these things don't come together in her mind until she actually sees him. She actually sees him, and that was really important. I couldn't figure out. Well, what I started to do when he left her that morning, I started to have him um, tell her, well, there's something I need to tell you. I need to tell you something. But then I thought, no, that's a little too corny. He wouldn't tell her. He would, number one, he's a soldier, and he wouldn't reveal that to her. And number two, I couldn't justify her falling in love with him if she knew who he really was. And I didn't want to be too corny, because I had already had in Autumn the male character have this secret identity and stuff like that. But it's a different, like I said before, it's a different kind of reveal. He my male character in Autumn can not reveal his identity, till the end, till the he has to actually leave for England. It's plausible. In this instance, in the new book, it would be impossible, for him to keep the secret of who he is for too long. And so what I had happen was, and I didn't want to go, oh, well, there's something I should tell you. And then the horn beeps and he runs out and stuff like that, because that's too, I mean, there is a formula, but there's a little, that would have been a little too much. And what she, because you have to leave something for your, you have to leave something for your readers to figure out. And how actually she finds out is that, you know, they and that's how I justified her falling in love with him. He falls in love with her because, regardless, the thing of it is, it's a story about love. It's about love, and both stories are about love. Like I had said before, um the officer and the Paris lady, they fall in love because they fall in love. It has nothing to do with who they are. I mean, it's preposterous. They, you know, they just, I'm sure it happened, but and happened often. But she they fall in love regardless of who they are. They just do. You know, they just do. And like I was saying before about the married couple, the couple that go together to the camp, is that they dig deep, you know, inside themselves for their love. That's probably been there, but it was no way to manifest it because, you know, he was busy, you know, she was a socialite, a rich, you know, rich girl, you know, rich, you know, Jewish girl from Poland, always had what she wanted, you know, that kind of thing. Um, and he's a composer, conductor, you know, vocal coach, you know, that kind of thing. He's that kind of person, and they live the kind of life that an arranged marriage and that kind of, you know, a situation that they would live during that time. And it's something that I've realized a lot about people as I watch my friends get married and I will watch them get divorced, all of them. And um, is that they've taken each other for granted. They have this comfortable, wealthy life, and they've taken each other for granted. He's taken her for granted. She's taken him for granted. That's why it really doesn't bother her. I mean, it bothers her. He has a mistress, but I mean, it's kind of expected of a man in his station back during this time, especially there in Paris. Come on. And like I said before, how I actually had them get transported the first time is that they go back to Poland to find her parents or his parents. I can't remember how I had it worked out, but and then they get there and they find out that, you know, everybody's been put into a ghetto and it's somebody else living in her parents' house. Some, you know, Aryans done took over her parents' house, and they're like, what the devil's going on? And that's how they get transported. And like I said before, once I learned more about the Vichy government and the and occupied Paris, um, Germany, I mean France, all, not just Paris but all of France, that it would have been possible for them to be actually transported from Paris, actually, you know. And when they get to the camp and it's a matter of survival, they have nothing else. You know, they have nothing else. He has, the only thing he has is to try to um, um, because he's in a position, like I said, I haven't worked it out yet. It's been a little bit too cliche for him to be, you know, be giving privileges because he's a musician. But also, too, I'm thinking, of course, he'd tell him. You know, once he get there, he'd realize, whoa, you know, look what's going on. And maybe if I tell him I'm a musician, you know, that you know, I'll get a better uh, treatment. But I don't know. I don't know. I haven't worked that out yet. I really haven't worked that out. And when they get to the camp, because he's in a position to maybe bring her a little extra bread and bring her a little extra soup, and you know, because there are the special commandos. I can't say the German word. they had access to the food. I mean, people just stripped of everything they owned when they got there, and they were told, bring food and bring all your jewelry and bring all your, banknotes and bring all your, money and stuff for your new life starting over. And of course, when the people got there, they took these things from them. They took everything from them. And so they had the men who actually did the dirty work of pulling the bodies out of the crematoriums and stacking the bodies up and dragging them out of the um, gas chamber when they were dead. They got special privileges, and also too, they knew that they were going to be next. That you didn't stay, if you didn't have that status to hold for years and years and years and years. You had about maybe at the most 6 months at this stuff. So that's another reason why I don't know if it'd be kind of corny if they both make it out. It'd be kind of corny if he made it out and then he goes back to Paris to meet, her, and he's not the same man. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from that corny, predictable stuff. So I don't know if they're both gonna go. I don't know. I haven't figured out yet. I'll figure that out later. But like I said, the only thing they have at that point is their survival. So it isn't anymore. It isn't any of the crazy stuff is left. There's nothing left but their actual relationship. And they form a deeper love and a deeper relationship in this awful place, you know. Meanwhile, at the same time, back in Paris, what's going on when she finds out, the Paris lady, the entertainer, when she finds out actually who he is, it's too late, I want to say, for her to change her emotions. And that's why I had to really sit down and work out, okay, how long have they been writing? And how possible would it have been for them to carry on a conversation and they're at war, and they're at war. And because you just couldn't write a letter, but some reason she's getting letters. So what I'm thinking is she's getting like 3 or 4 letters at a time. And what happens is, okay, the war breaks out. They invade Poland in 1939. I have him kind of showing up in Paris about 43-ish. And I wanted enough time in between there for them to have had this communication back and forth, for them to have written these long letters and for him to learn about the things she knows about opera and ballet and dance and all these things. And then she finds out how refined he is, what, movies he's gone to see and what, different things he, doesn't talk about military things at all. And I haven't figured out if she has a little bit of an inkling he might be in the military, but I don't think um she doesn't have any idea who really, he is until she actually sees him in his uniform. And that's how but I didn't want too much time, um just because I'm impatient. But I didn't, I wanted at least 2 years of this writing back and forth of, every, month or so, she gets 3 or 4 letters, from him. And then she writes him back 3 or 4 letters and they kind of communicate, back and forth. I wanted to give it time for it to build, because if they had just exchanged a couple of letters, then the intimacy wouldn't have grown. And how she finds out who he is, like I said, he calls her and tells her, I'm on my way to on business. He didn't say, that he's being stationed somewhere, but he's actually on his way to the east. And what he does is he tells her, okay, I'm gonna stop by, I'm in gonna be in Paris. I'm gonna stop by and see you. And that is when the big reveal comes. So I'm going to, of course, do a costume change, and then I'll be back and do a couple more, and then I'm getting hungry. It's time for dinner. And then it's time to go online and look at some more Malibu Dollface. So I'll see you guys later.